So the guys at Heavy Metallurgy have challenged us in the metal YouTube community with 20 more questions about our music collections. In my case, metal on the vinyl format, and maybe one CD too. Responses will be given, records will be shown, and metal will be discussed. As always, stay tuned. So some folks might remember the metal tag as being started by one Scott, the Rock Scout, here on YouTube. But as of last year, he handed over the reins of this annual thread to Marty and Alan from the Heavy Metallurgy channel, who continue this thing a lot of us metal YouTubers like to do, and that's answer a bunch of questions in the form of showing and discussing albums that fit as responses. The idea is you get to find out about a lot of cool metal albums in an interesting way. Anyways, since a number of these questions remind me of entire videos I'd already done, I'm also going to mention those as we go along, just in case you'd like to see many examples of each rather than just one. Alright, let's do this. So number one is Hype, name a release you're eagerly anticipating in 2025. So not much has been announced in January, but given what we know, I'd go with the 16th and upcoming studio album from German thrash metal band Destruction, entitled Birth of Malice, which is slated to be released in March by Napalm Records. The lead single and music video for the track Destruction came out back in November, and if it's any indicator of what's to come, this should well be worth the buy. Number two is show the 25th item, either LP, CD, your choice, in your collection. So let's stick with vinyl, and still in the A's with this one, we've got the second EP from American power metal band Adamantis, entitled The Damon Strain, released in 2022 by Cruz del Sur Music. Great band who will be putting out a new full-length album, likely in February of 2025, called Reforged. But in the meantime, check out this, as well as their first EP, Thundermark, and their first full-length album, Far-Flung Realm. If you like bands like Iron Flame or Visigoth, you'll likely dig Adamantis. Number three is Overdue, name an older band that you checked out for the first time in 2024 and loved. Well, that band would be Overdrive from Sweden, and through their second studio album, Swords and Axes, released in 1984 by Planet Records, which means I'm not sure how I even missed these guys back then, but anyways, picked this one up during a big haul from Bookspieler Records in Montpelier, Vermont. Did an entire video on that haul, so check that out when you get the chance. As for the band, they are classic heavy metal with some Nawabum influence, but also some of the American influence you might expect from Metal Blade's early roster of bands. Overdrive had a few breakups in their career, most recently in 2022, so not sure if they're coming back, but in any case, I now need to track down their 1983 debut called Metal Attack. Good stuff. Number four is Feeding the Monkey. Great name. How do you purchase most of your music? Local store, Bandcamp, specific site online, etc. So the vast majority of my music purchasing is through online sites. Sometimes I buy directly from the labels, but often enough that better prices aren't with them, but rather with either distros or physical record stores around the country with a web store. So think Hell's Headbangers, Blast Beats, Red Yeti, etc. In 2024, I bought 155 vinyl records, according to my Discogs, and much of that was bought online, with maybe a quarter of it from area record stores. Anyways, I did a video years back called Finding New Metal as an Old Guy, which covers all of the ways I go about purchasing music. Definitely go watch that. And I should mention that I never buy vinyl from Amazon because they have no concept on how to properly pack records in any consistent or effective way. Got a lot of damaged records from Amazon and just had to give up on them at some point. So, no Amazon. But I have had good luck with Walmart and Target online for some reason, and I hardly ever buy through eBay, and I'm not even sure why. Anyways, let me know in the comments how you feel about some of these online record dealers. I mean, maybe you have favorites I haven't even thought to check out. Who knows? Number five is Enigma, show a heavy metal album that musically is really hard to place in a heavy metal subgenre. So this is Phantomas with their second studio album, The Director's Cut, originally released in 2001, but now issued on vinyl for the first time in 2024 by Ipecac Recordings. Metal Archives refers to them as avant-garde metal, but that's often a euphemism for I don't know what to call this. Even the band's musical themes listed by that website complicate things further by stating this as gibberish and nonsense. I suppose if you heard Mike Patton's other project from way back, such being Mr. Bungle, it's easier to use that as a reference point, but maybe toss in some extreme metal too, and does even that describe it well enough? As the title might imply, this album is reinterpretations of movie title scores such as Rosemary's Baby, The Omen, and others, but again, insane reinterpretations. In addition to Patton, we also get Buzz and Trevor from the Melvins, as well as Dave Lombardo, formerly of Slayer, so definitely expect the unexpected here. Anyways, great album that's a bit tough to peg-hole into any one subgenre of metal. Number 6 is Eating Crow. Talk about an album that you used to hate, but after years it finally clicked and now you just can't get enough of it. So this is actually tough because the reverse is often true with me. That is, I have a sizable list of records I was totally in love with as a teenager, but now I can't stand to even hear one song from. And if I really think about it, I really can't come up with any record where I go from total hate to total love. But what I can come up with is an album I initially dismissed when I was a kid and ended up really appreciating in later life. And one of those records is this one. This is the 8th studio album from British metal legends Judas Priest, entitled Point of Entry, released in 1981. And I have both this US version as well as the UK version with a different cover because I am collector scum after all. More on that later. Anyways, the truth is I largely ignored this album for many years, having a lot more love for the albums on either side of it, chronologically speaking. Always loved the track Heading Out to the Highway as far as back as the 1980s, but then later came to love deeper cuts like Solar Angels, Desert Plains, and yes, even Hot Rockin'. I mean, the video for that song is beyond amazing in so many unintended ways. I know the band has had mixed opinions on this clearly more commercial release, but I also agree with them that there are gems on here that shouldn't be ignored or overlooked. Good stuff. Number 7 is Impulse, show an album that you blind bought in 2024. So this is the debut studio album from American heavy speed metal band Bat, entitled Wings of Chains, originally released in 2016 by Hell's Headbangers, but now reissued in 2022 by Tank Crimes. So the story goes that I had already bought and favorably reviewed their second album, Under the Crooked Claw, so I was already primed for more music from this band. Then back in August of last year, I was at a record store in Providence, Rhode Island, such being Armageddon Shop, great store. And this album was in the bin, so since I dug the second record, I bought the first one too. Anyways, killer heavy speed metal with members of Municipal Waste and an ex-drummer from DRI as well. Kind of punky and thrashy, but with some trad metal strains, sometimes bordering on Nawabum. Lots of fun as well, so definitely check this one out. Number 8 is Collector Scum. Show a title that you own more than one pressing of on the same format, so CD, LP, etc. You know we're doing vinyl here. Anyways, I could have gone with the 5 pressings of Kiss's Destroyer album that I have, but they aren't metal, so let's go to Venom and their second studio album, Black Metal, released in 1982. Didn't discover Venom until 84, but when I did, this is definitely what got me into extreme metal of any sort. Anyways, let's start with my OG pressing on Neat Records from 1982 with the label logo in red on one side and the album cover art on the other. Don't have it with me right now, so you'll just have to trust me that that's what it is. Also, I do like that the photos on the back are reasonably clear. You'll see on later editions where they're very dark and crappy. There you go. Then there's the inclusion of Black Metal in their 1985 box set entitled Here Lies Venom, released by Combat Records, and with artwork by Ed Repka. In fact, the first artwork he ever did for a metal release, predating Megadeth's Peace Sells record by a year. Some folks don't know that, so there you go. The albums in here are all in inner sleeves, so there are no jackets. Let's pull these out quickly here for you. There's more artwork. Kronos Mantis, Abaddon is corpses, really awesome. Black Metal in particular looks like this because of that. Same thing on both sides here. And the vinyl has the Combat labels there for you. Interesting to see Combat there, for sure. Also, that version of Black Metal has bonus tracks such as Acid Queen, Die Hard, and Bloodlust, so that's pretty cool. Next is the 2016 2LP edition of the album from Back on Black in the UK, with the second record containing Radio 1 sessions, single tracks, and an outtake. Also comes in a gatefold sleeve. which the others do not. There you go. Pretty cool. Pictures are a little darker at this point, as you notice. I don't know why that is. And then there's the version that comes in the 2019 Anomine Satanas box set released by BMG. I'll just pull the record out for you here. Pretty cool cover, actually. Take another look at that if you'd like. And there's the record here for you. There it is. Standard track listing here, but also part of an amazing box set, so I have it as well. And yes, I did a video on the unboxing of that set way back in case you wanted to see everything in it. I should also show you the vinyl. It is not black, but it is kind of this interesting black and gray. I've shown this before because I've shown the box set before. There you go. Anyways, this is still my favorite Venom album, which I mentioned a few times in my top 10 Venom songs video, and you know what I'm going to say next, and that's you should definitely watch that video as well after this one, of course. Number 9 is Show Off a Grail, something that you really wanted, that you acquired in 2024. So I showed this last year during my record fair video, but let's show it again. This is the OG pressing of Queensryche's second studio album, Rage for Order, released in 1986 by EMI. This is specifically the Sky Blue Ring variant, which was among the first few thousand copies pressed, but was then quickly replaced and continued with a black ring version, so the text could be more readable. Since there are only a few thousand of these out there, this is a collectible, and it's been on my Grail list for a bit, which means you'll see it again in my 2025 Grail list video later this year when I do it. As for past Grail videos I've done, I have at least 2 of them, which you can find through a search on my channel. Go check those out. I mean, why not? Number 10 is a plea to the VCLT gods. What is a Grail item that you're on the hunt for? So, as mentioned before, I have a Grail list, one that gets added to here and there. One of those would be an OG copy of the second studio album from American crossover thrash band Nuclear Assault, such being the 1988 release of Survive, specifically on IRS Records. And yes, this is my favorite Nuclear Assault album, having owned it on cassette and CD since it was new. But I've got this burning hole in my Nuclear Assault vinyl collection that begs for this album to fill it, so I should probably just snag it online. I don't think it's ever been repressed on vinyl, and I'd only want the OG copy anyways. But near-mint copies tend to go in excess of $100. But I did luck out with the EPs sometime back at a more reasonable price, so maybe one day I'll just break the bank and get it. Number 11 is Boomerang album. Show an album that no matter how many times you purge it from your collection, another copy returns to you. Like magic, I guess. Anyways, instances of this album disappearing from my collection were not done on my part, but this would be the closest response I'd have here. By the way, the album in question is the third studio album from American thrash metal band Anthrax, entitled Among the Living, released in 1987 by Island Records. Anyways, I first owned this album on vinyl when it was newly released, as I did with virtually everything from them, going back to Fistful of Metal. But 3 months later, my family tossed my entire music collection, what I've termed the Great Purge of 1987. Anyways, it took me a while to get around to rebuying the album. Since my second copy was on CD, my guess is that I probably repurchased it around 1989. But then in 1992, while I was on vacation, someone broke into my room and stole just my copy of Among the Living and nothing else, which is just bizarre. Anyways, fast forward quite a few years to 2023, and I finally got around to buying this CD copy, likely a post-2009 reissue. Of course, this is merely a holdover until I break down and foot the $150+ price tag that seems to be the asking price for an OG vinyl copy in good shape these days. Definitely one of my favorite Anthrax albums, and it even has my favorite Anthrax song on it, which you can find out about in my Top 10 Anthrax Songs video here at the channel. How's that for a plug? Number 12 is Reunion, name an artist that you had lost track of over time, but reconnected with in 2024. So following their Penetration Point album from 1989, the band in question broke up the following year, had a number of reunions over the decades, even putting on an album in 2004 that I never even knew about back then, because I lost track of them. But 20 years later, we got another album from them, one I definitely connected with. This is the 5th studio album from American power thrash band Nasty Savage, entitled Jeopardy Room, released in 2024 by FHM Records. So some of the classic Nasty Savage sound is here, though Ronnie tends to favor his lower and meaner register at this point. Also a real uptick in lead trade-offs, as well as some dalliances into second-wave thrash nostalgia, and some decent variety throughout. It made it into my honorable mentions for my otherwise top 10 metal albums of 2024 video, so I did dig it. Anyways, Nasty Savage with Jeopardy Room. Number 13 is Upstart. Name a new band whose debut album really impressed you. And the debut doesn't have to come out in 2024. So as a metal YouTuber who reviews records, I run into a lot of debut albums from bands, and a lot of good ones too. Given that, it was hard to pick just one, but since I can't name dozens of albums here, let's go with the debut studio album from Finnish death metal band Disguised Malignance, entitled Entering the Gateways, released in 2023 by Prosthetic Records. The band was originally formed in 2021, so they're definitely a new band because for this old guy, 4 years is a blink of an eye. Anyway, some cool and proficient playing here with the brutality and technicality to match. Also crushing riffs, catchy hooks, and a bit of groove too. Definitely looking forward to another record from these guys because this one is top notch. All the way. Number 14 is Influencers. Show a band / release that you bought in 2024 as a direct result of watching someone's YouTube channel. So, since I didn't buy a band in 2024, let's talk about an album I bought in 2024, such being the debut studio album from American melodic death metal band Majesties, entitled Vast Reaches Unclaimed, released in 2023 by 20 Buck Spin. And right away, big thanks to Mark G with a C for cluing me into these guys. So the band is a side project from members of Antiverse, Inexorum, and Obsequii. And although this is a melodic death metal record, expect elements of melodic black metal to make their way in as well. But overall, very death metal, leaving behind a lot of the musical cloying of other melodic genre bands. Riffs move a great deal between epic gallops and melancholic wailing, with some frequent acoustic work as well. Some early Gothenburg influences here too, which may or may not interest some. Either way, I really dug this record, so thank you, Mark. Number 15 is Don't Judge a Book by its Cover. Show a great album with bad cover art. So this one's likely going to get some pushback from those of you who confuse bad cover with bad music, or even the implication of such, even if they're not necessarily synonymous. Anyways, when thinking of bad cover art, my mind often drifts to the earliest example of it in the world of heavy metal, and that's the cover of the debut studio album from British metal band Black Sabbath, self-titled, and released in 1970 by Warner Brothers Records, or Vertigo, if across the pond. Regardless, this cover stinks. I mean, it really does stink. I could get that maybe a creepy tone in the image was intended, but it just looks like a tacky painting you'd find in a thrift store that no one would buy. I mean, when I see this image, I don't think of the crushing doom of the title track or the infernal majesty of NIB or even the dark charm of the Wizard. I mean, maybe there was a mix-up at Warner Brothers and Fleetwood Mac or James Taylor got something really effing scary instead. I don't know. All I know is that this image doesn't fit with the contents of the record. Of course, Sabbath had a number of crap album covers during the first Ozzy era. See Paranoid and Technical Ecstasy for more on that. Also, if you want to see more examples of bad cover art from other bands, though with a twist, I did a thread response some time ago called Metal Album Covers So Good They're Bad, or So Bad They're Good. I think that was it. So you should definitely check that out if interested. Number 16 is Rembrandt. Show an album whose cover was created by one of your favorite artists. So, it's no secret that Derek Riggs was the main artist for Iron Maiden, having done the first 8 album covers for them, not to mention a slew of unique art for their covers of their early singles and EPs. However, my favorite Riggs cover for Maiden is not from a studio album, or a single, or an EP, but from a live album. And that album, of course, is Live After Death, released in 1985 by EMI. So this has always been my favorite Maiden album cover since it came out. Nothing tops it for me. Nothing. Not even Somewhere in Time, which might be the popular choice these days with its dense and reference-heavy imagery. But I gotta tell you, there's something about this cover with its use of color and action. Not to mention its Eddie rising from the goddamn grave. I mean, that's just awesome. Anyways, I also did an entire video on my top 10 favorite covers, intuitively called Top 10 Favorite Classic Metal Album Covers, and I'd recommend checking that out if wanting to see more examples. Funny enough, I didn't include this cover because I was only discussing studio albums in that other video. So for those bugging me with the comments why I didn't mention Riggs there, well, he's here now. So there you go. Also, I should show you that it does continue off into the back. Fantastic. Number 17 is name an album that you would like to see reissued on vinyl or CD, your preferred medium. And we know that means vinyl for me, so let's go with that. Anyways, it should be said that I generally shy away from most releases out there that are reissued. I mean, I'd either buy the OG pressing, or if an edition came out with extra material that was compelling enough, I'd get that. If it's an album I really want on the format now rather than later, I might temporarily buy the reissue, then later get the OG and sell off the repress. But if I were to think of albums that were never available on vinyl, those would be the ones I'd like to see released. And right now, what I wouldn't mind are vinyl pressings of Metal Massacre volumes 11 through 13. All others have been pressed to the format, but not these three, as they were only released on CD. So I'd like to see that happen. Get on it, Metal Blade. Number 18 is name an album from a genre that you typically do not listen to very much. So I'm not really sure what would be the most accurate labeling of this artist's music, but I do know it couldn't possibly fit neatly into metal. So let's talk about Chelsea Wolfe's 7th studio album entitled She Reaches Out to She Reaches Out to She. Great title. Released in 2024 by Loma Vista Recordings. So, how to explain Chelsea Wolfe? I mean, a lot of what she does is ambient, mournful, intense, and beautiful, bringing in elements of 90s singer-songwriter styles, but also strains of industrial, goth, neo-folk, and even some metal, all without fitting into any of those comfortably. So, this amalgam of genres, by whatever it could be called, is something I don't listen to a lot, but when I'm in the mood for it, it is the perfect thing to hear. I'm also thinking that if you like post-Fallen Evanescence, and specifically after that record, you might get something out of this as well. Anyways, Chelsea Wolfe with She Reaches Out to She Reaches Out to She. Number 19 is what band do you hope to see live in 2025? Hey, that rhymed. Anyways, as you can imagine at this point, I have a video. One I did a few years ago called Top 10 Classic Metal Bands I'd Never Seen in Concert But Want to. And since then, I'd seen 4 of those 10 bands. Of the remaining 6, I'd really like to see Exodus next in 2025. I do know that they're supposed to release a new album sometime this year, so a corresponding tour of the States would probably make this even more feasible. At least I hope. Anyways, yeah, Exodus. Or if they puss out, then Death Angel. I mean, either, really. I love both bands. Number 20 is, in closing, tell your viewers about 2 new to you YouTube channels you discovered in 2024, or just shout out 2 channels you enjoy. So let's go with channels I discovered in 2024, or at least I'm pretty sure 2024. Anyways, the first one is Headbanger's Closet, which Brett does a lot of collection updates and unboxings, but also produces related content in and around metal. He's been at it for about 4 years, but it's been about the last so many months that I've been checking out his videos regularly. He is a big Metallica fan, but he also delves into thrash and death metal quite a bit as well. Definitely check out his channel. And also check out Sean the Beast, as he is sometimes known, who shows and reviews a lot of death and black metal albums, but occasionally dips into more traditional subgenres as well. Not sure how long he's been on the platform, though his video page shows maybe about a year, which would actually make some sense since I discovered him within the last year. Anyways, definitely swing over to Sean's channel and check out his videos. Of course, I'd like to thank Marty and Alan over at the Heavy Metallurgy channel for once again taking up the metal tag mantle and keeping it going. Definitely check out their channel for tons of record reviews and other videos related to metal. And if you're interested in doing the Metal Tag Challenge, I'll put a link to their original video in the description of my video so that you can check that out and do a response yourself. In fact, I would highly encourage it. Anyways, love doing these metal tags every year, and of course that means I have done others, so you should check out all of those on my channel in the playlist that makes sense. Speaking of which, this is the Accusation Network. My name is Matt, and each and every week I do videos on classic and modern metal, but also metal vinyl collecting. If you like the sound of that and you have not yet subscribed to my channel, I would super appreciate it if you did. Also, maybe like this video and share out my other videos, but maybe also this one, with some of your friends on social media. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.